How hot is your coffee where you are? My name is Fred Ndimuli. Karibu sana. This is the Morning Cafe where we wake you up the best way we know how. And that's by giving you the latest news, the biggest headlines, and a lot more right here on Morning Cafe. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much for joining us on this 16th day of September 2025. We are counting, Fred, 100 days to Christmas.
Christmas, yes.
Yes.
Official, 100 days to Christmas. Kama uko unajua hiyo, jua sasa.
Nice. My name is Anno Dida. Let's take a look at the local dailies.
Even before that, today is also the International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer.
Ah, nice.
Did you know that?
No.
This is a UN-observed day. So it is a big one for those guys who are keen on matters globalization and climate change. So the headlines look like this today. These are the local dailies, and we start off with the Star inside Gachagua Kalonzo team's 2027 game plan, and you'll realize politics is back.
Yep, taifa leo masaibu ya walimu Ikulu, lakini nilikuwa nimeona Gachagua hapo, so I was trying to do something about that.
You'll see a lot of Gachagua, Matiang'i on the headlines today, Kalonzo. So on the Standard, war against Matiang'i.
Daily Nation campaign podium.
Business Daily, former Uganda AG takes 14% stake in CDN Bank.
Finally, People Daily. This is Kalonzo's only chance.
Yes, a lot of politics. By the way, it's all Kalonzo twice. You've seen Matiang'i once, Matters campaigns, and State House. So yes, Matters politics back on the front pages. And we'll be back to take a look at these local dailies in depth in a short while. Today, on State of the Nation, starting at 6:30, we'll be having these three gentlemen, Wakili Harrison Kenyanjui, James Gakuya, who's an MP in Embakasi North, and Peter Mutuko Mutua, governance and leadership expert. They'll be helping us look at the big headlines. One of the biggest discussion has been the fact that the former deputy president has declared now officially is Gachagua for president.
Yes.
What does that mean? And are there legal hurdles? Remember, he still has an impeachment case before the court after the Senate impeached him. So we'll be looking at that with this panel. Do stand by for that.
Today being a Tuesday, we're talking matters business. George Munga will be here. He's a finance analyst and a managing partner at MAG Consulting Group. We are talking matters lending rates, in simple terms, interest rates.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Tuvuke boda tuangazie siasa zimefika wapi kule Tanzania. Tunaanza na gazeti la Mwananchi. Wanasema mpina giza nene, ACT wacharuka. Pingamizi la mwanasheria mkuu lazima ndoto yake ya urais. Yeye lazima. Yani wamezima, si ati lazima ile ya must. Wamezima ndoto yake ya urais. Yeye afunguka. AFP NRA vya kwama INEC. Mpina ndio huyu. Alikuwa amenyimwa tikiti ya urais na INEC. Sasa amepata, koti ilimruhusu, lakini kurudi kwenye chama kuna wengine wanasema hapana, hafai, sio yeye, hatoshi mboga, nini. So giza nene kwa Mpina. Habari nyingine pale ya kisiasa, Lissu ngoma ngumu, Arusha karata mpya. Nia ya uhaini lazima ionekane kwa kuchapisha au kwa matendo, na kwamba katika kesi maelezo ya kosa yanaeleza nia ya uhaini kwa kutamka. Hii ni wanamnukuu pale Tundu Lissu ambaye yuko kotini, ameshtakiwa kwa nia ya uhaini, which is treason. And we'll see something, the theme is the same even in Uganda. Once you get to the paper there, you'll see. Kwa hivyo Tundu Lissu alipaswa kuwania urais, lakini sasa hawezi, yuko kotini akipigana na kesi ya uhaini. Tanzania wanasherehekea Simbu. Ndio jamaa alishinda marathon. Mbio za masafa marefu kule Tokyo, Japan. World Athletics Championship. Simbu aweka rekodi mpya kimataifa. Mkenya wa kwanza hakukuwa na Mkenya kwa top 10 men's marathon. We won the women's marathon. When it comes to the men's marathon, hatukuwa at among the top 10. Huyu jamaa anaitwa Simbu wa Tanzania ndio alishinda. Sijawahi sikia Mtanzania akishinda hizi mbio za masafa marefu.
First of its kind.
Tumesikia watu kutoka kule Uganda, nchi jirani.
Lakini ni Wakenya machep. Sio
Wakenya, hao ni wale chep wa kule kwingine Uganda. Sasa unasikia vile unawaclaim ati ni Wakenya. Sasa Watanzania wamefika, is the first of its kind kutoka Tanzania kushinda mbio za masafa marefu. Congratulations to Simbu. Gazeti la Mwananchi.
All right, kisalia kule Tanzania, The Citizen, why the end of cooked up financial results is in sight, and the falsification of financial statements by institutions and business people may soon come to an end following the introduction of a new verification system by the National Board of Accountants and Auditors. Matters business on the front page of the Citizen. Still more business. How to ensure consistent financing of startups, and Tanzanian startups are struggling to maintain the fundraising momentum seen last year, raising questions about what the country must do to ensure consistency in attracting investment. Accolades all round as Simbu marks history for Tanzania. Apart from what? Apart from the gold medal, Simbu pocketed 173 million Tanzanian shillings. That is around $70,000 for winning the men's marathon in Tokyo.
Alafu leo Kenya wamezoea kuringa ati when it comes to African countries we always top there. Sisi ndio wa kwanza pale, unatoka US unaenda China, probably the UK, and then unapata Kenya. Tanzania now among the top 10, actually number 6 on the medals ranking because of that gold medal.
We are still top one.
Yeah, but hapa huwa tukaribiani na Tanzania, majirani wetu hawakuangi hapa. This is usually a preserve.
Let me tell you, don't listen to Fred. We are number 3, Tanzania is number 6.
Yes, Tanzania.
But women's marathon, we are number 2 after USA, so still. Okay, Matters siasa, ACT up in arms after Mpina barred from elections again.
Mbona huyu jamaa anakatazwa kuvai for elections huko Tanzania? Kwani anaogopwa?
Labda kuna swara. Yeah. On the top strip, idea hatched by young scientists blossom into thriving eco business. That's the Citizen. All right. News making headlines in Tanzania. Cross
over to Uganda. Ugandan women exploited and killed in Dubai. That's a big headline on the New Vision. It's a BBC investigation in pages 4 and 5 of this paper. Matters culture also making it to the front page. Karamoja exhibits raw culture, and you can see wanaruka pale. Ukifidhani wa Masai ndo wanaruka zaidi, Karamoja wanaruka zaidi. Contracts of ESC staff terminated, Ugandans among those affected. You remember this story was there on the front page of the East African yesterday. Member countries of the East African community are not remitting their usual contributions to the community, and this is affecting the contracts of quite a number of staff, most of whom have had their contracts terminated, and that has affected a number of Ugandans as well. It is a story that should affect the entire region. Even as we aspire for a federation and common currency, common markets, imekata, imekwama, watu watoi fedha. That's a New Vision.
Still in Uganda, Daily Monitor locked out. 300 days jailed. The Opposition People's Front for Freedom, PFF, a party associated with Dr. Kizza Besigye, has announced it will not field the presidential candidate in the upcoming 2026 general election after more than 300 days since the politician was abducted in Nairobi and jailed in Kampala. Lazima wangeweka Nairobi hapo trending for the wrong reasons. November 16th, Dr. Kizza Besigye and his aide Obeid Lutale are abducted in Nairobi, Kenya, and repatriated to Uganda. September 9th, Dr. Besigye and Lutale refused to appear before High Court Judge Emmanuel Baguma, who they accuse of being biased. They say this is a 4-time presidential candidate, Kizza Besigye. This photo here is him in the dock at the General Court Martial in Makindye, Kampala in November 2024. And he was, together with his aide Obeid Lutale, remanded to Luzira prison. 300 days. Dubai sex trafficking ring leaves Uganda government soul searching. Uganda ready for investment, officials tell UK Africa Summit. And we've mutilated the constitution, still celebrating Constitution at 30 in Uganda. On the top strip, urban teachers leave strike on pay rise to up-country colleagues. You want to say something?
It's about the politics.
Sema.
That the main opposition or the main rivals or the presidential candidates in Uganda locked out. In Tanzania, locked out. In Kenya, locked in.
Locked in.
Kama hujashika hiyo, wachana nayo.
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
That's the Daily Monitor news making headlines in Uganda.
All right. We'll be back to take a look at the local dailies in a short while. For now, let's take a look at the weather situation. It's been warming up in various parts of the country, and the theme is the same. We start off at the coast in Malindi. Tuangalie kama kuna holiday weather. It's quite warm in Malindi today. Angalia pale, wanasema clear with periodic clouds. Clouds itakuja baadaye uko late afternoon. But between now and about 2 p.m., it's clear skies. Highs of 29 degrees. This is quite hot even for Malindi, but it's perfect for holiday weather. Precipitation in Malindi is 0.4 millimeters. Hiyo hata sahau, ni kama haiko. but quite warm in Malindi, and it promises to get even warmer as a week progresses. 29, I think, is the highest today and tomorrow. Nyahururu is quite the opposite.
12 degrees this morning. Feels like it. It's a partly cloudy day. Huku kutanyesha sana leo. Before tatuangalia precipitation, highs of 22 degrees and precipitation today 4.5 millimeters. Rain likely to start at around 10 a.m. This will persist throughout this week. In Nyeri, highs of 24 degrees will be the highest this week.
Yeah, but yeah, 24 is actually high because leo ni 22. That's quite high. Okay, the northern part of the country, we go to Marsabit, 19 degrees, also quite warm, clear skies. Look what our promise at is, some clouds. It's clear skies throughout, highs of 31 degrees, which is quite warm. No chance of rainfall in Marsabit as well, and it promises to stay like this for the entire week into next week, 30, 29, 31. That's the average highs.
14 degrees in Nakuru this morning, clear skies with periodic clouds, highs of 26 today. Precipitation here 10.2 millimeters.
Yes, and 26 degrees for Nakuru, that's quite warm. But it promises to even get warmer, 27 degrees into the weekend. Wewe ni kuna kijoto kule. Garissa, it's another warm area as well. 23 degrees as we speak, partly cloudy, but you can see hiyo partly cloudy ni kidogo sana kwa masaa ya asubuhi hadi about 11 a.m. After that, it's clear skies. 34 degrees is the highest, and this is the warmest we've seen so far. Not even Marsabit has come close to this. No chance of rainfall there. I think the only hotter place would be Mandera, which was clocking about 36 degrees.
Finally, Nairobi, 14 degrees this morning, clear skies with periodic clouds. Highs of 26 degrees. Precipitation today, 2.1 millimeters.
But kama jana tulikuwa tumeona sijui 7.1, sikusikia hiyo mvua.
It was
26
live.
degrees by day is quite hot.
It is.
It's quite hot.
Like,
so generally, it's warm weather across the country.
Yeah.
Ile baridi ya August na July ilikusha kitambo. Tuangazie masuala ya traffic na tunasema watu wa Kiambu Road munachunga sana. Leo ni kubaya. I can tell you for sure, if you're using Kiambu Road, especially from Kiambu town, areas like Edenville, Mushroom, Kist, Kirigiti, Kiambu town itself, heading towards Four Ways Junction, kuna shida. Sijui kwa nini hawajaonyesha, lakini kuna mahali hapa wanaita Ndigwa. There's a section of the road around Quickmart that has been locked. There's a small stretch of yellow hapo, but that promises to become problematic later on. Okay, ile shida ilikuwa pale Four Ways Junction imetatuliwa. At least the contractor moved out of that site. Now the road is free for use, but it's still a bit dusty because of the debris that was left on the road. Other roads, Pangani Interchange building up slowly, and you can see all the way from Ruiru, Thika Road is smooth. Outer Ring Road is also smooth, end to end, from Embakasi all the way to Allsops. Jogoo Road building up nicely from Makadara all the way, lakini pale karibu Shauri Moyo. This is quite new because hakunanga shida hapa. So once you get closer to the city stadium roundabout, there's a long stretch of red pale, sijui shida ni nini. Lakini ukishaingia Landis Road, areas around Mudhurwa, hakuna shida, na ukiingia Haile Selassie Avenue, iko salama. Mombasa Road all the way from Lolongo past the airport, past City Cabanas into town is looking green this morning. Other major roads like Southland Bypass, Langata Road, Ngong Road as well as Wayaki Way are looking green this morning, nothing to worry about. Hii traffic ya leo ni tofauti kidogo, lakini probably tukipata wakati tutaangazia tena traffic around 6:30 tuone kama ita change kidogo. So far not so bad. Yeah.
That's the traffic situation, 12 minutes past 6 a.m. Let's have the quote of the day.
Optimism is our happiness magnet. If you stay positive, good things and good people will be drawn to you.
All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at the local dailies now. And we start off with the Business Daily. Huyu jamaa wa PNG anakuanga tu na mambo yake, lakini tumeanza na masuala ya biashara. Anasema former Ugandan AG takes 14% stake in Sidian Bank. This is a Kampala lawyer. Former Ugandan Attorney General has taken that much, almost 15% stake in Sidian Bank after buying 1.03 billion shillings worth of shares from Centum Investments. Hawa kile wanakuanga na pesa. When I grow up, Kampala lawyer buys 1 billion shilling stake from Centum, and the bank has attracted fresh investors as profits surge. That's a big headline on the front page of the Business Daily. Other stories: how KRA is turning to AI to catch smugglers. At the port of Mombasa, where thousands of containers come in daily, customs officers have for decades relied on their eyes to determine what lies inside the steel boxes. The process has sometimes been viewed as frustratingly slow by traders and agents. But for the government, it is also prone to errors and leaves room for smugglers and tax cheats. The KRA is now turning to artificial intelligence to help change that and enhance efficiency in the surveillance of goods entering and leaving the country. If you want more on that, pages 12 and 13 of this paper. On the ticker there, power producers face 100,000 shillings fines over plant shutdown plans. Electricity producers risk that fine per month if they fail to submit a 52-week plan on scheduled switch off of their plants in advance. Na generate stima alafu unasema tu mimi nitazima. Utalipa kila siku. Sacco loans exceed deposits by 92 billion shillings. Borrowing and deposit taking SACCOs has outpaced deposits by a record 92.2 billion shillings in the year ended December, reflecting the growing appetite for credit among members. Deposits ni 92 billion is not small money.
Yeah.
People are borrowing more than they're depositing. That's a Business Daily.
All right, Taifa Leo, masaibu ya walimu Ikulu. Wengi walisafiri usiku kucha, wakawasili Ikulu saa 2:30 asubuhi. Baada ya kikao, wengine wao waliondoka usiku kwa njaa. Walikula mlo mmoja, kisha wakaondoka na shilingi 10,000, pesa ambazo wengine walisubiri hadi usiku, ikabidi wakeshe Nairobi. Hata hivyo, duru zinaarifu kuwa viongozi wa vyama vyao walilipwa vitita vikubwa. Masaibu ya walimu Ikulu, siasa ya walimu Ikulu.
Umekula mlo mmoja alafu unapewa shilingi 10,000.
Breakfast.
Ikibidi ulale Nairobi, shilingi 10,000 itakutafutia accommodation ya pesa ngapi?
Labda akienda kule inaitwaje?
Tuseme hata
Sabina Joy. Labda. An example, 500 bob.
Hapo cost itazidi. Lakini pengine by the time anarudi nyumbani, hizo fedha zitakuwa depleted kiasi cha haja.
All right. And you know, I saw a friend's dad alikuwa anambia the daughter venye all this that is here in the food pit. Alienda wameweka huko na njaa akaongeza what ile timu ya DCP inasema hiyo.
Wanasema kuna njaa kule State House. Wanachoma.
Vidokezo zaidi: iwapo mbunge wa Sirisia John Waluke aliruhusiwa kuwania licha ya kuhukumiwa miaka mingi jela, hata mimi ninaweza. Huyo ni Rigathi Gachagua. Tangazo la Gachagua kuwania urais lazua mjadala nchini. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa 3 wa gazeti hili wanasema mjadala mkali kuhusu iwapo aliyekuwa naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua anaweza kuwania urais katika uchaguzi mkuu ujao umezuka. Vidokezo zaidi: mwaniaji wa Jubilee Mbeere North akataa kujiondoa. Hiyo ni Rere Mbao amrukia Pauline Njoroge aliyesema Jubilee haina mwaniaji eneo hilo.
Lakini hiyo Mbeere North imeleta joto sana. Mara DCP wanajiondoa, ule mwenye alikuwa candidate wa DCP akaruka, akakasirika, akaenda chama cha kazi. Sasa huyu ni mwingine wa Jubilee na amesema hatoki.
So ni yeye na DAP. Ni yeye na yule wa DP.
Sasa wa DP ndio anakuwa supported na vyama vingi pale, lakini kumbuka Jubilee bado iko kwa United Opposition. Yule alitoka akaenda chama cha kazi alikuwa mmoja wao. Kuna shida pale Mbeere North. Wacha tuone itaendaje.
All right. Serema futia wanaume aibu Tokyo, azoa nishani ya shaba katika mbio za 3,000 mita 3,000 kuruka viunzi na maji na kuondoa aibu ya Kenya kutoka Bure Marathon za wanaume.
But you see how things have changed. The 3,000 meters steeplechase used to be a preserve of Kenyans. Hiyo ilikuwanga podium finish 1, 2, 3. Gold, silver and bronze. Now, shaba ni gani? Shaba ni actually bronze. Tumeshinda bronze. That's the best we could do. After losing the marathon to Tanzania. Now, let's not even say we lost to Tanzania because no Kenyan was among the top 10. So we just were not there. And the triple chase tumepata bronze. Tanzania watakuja tupite hapo mali unasema ati tuko mbele.
Hakuna, we are still number 2. Ruto kurejea pwani tena akivamia zizi la Raila na rais apangiwa kukagua miradi ya ustawi. Kule juu masuala ya spoti, UEFA Champions League 2025 yang'oa nanga hii leo. Arsenal wazuru Bilbao, nao Real Madrid na Spurs wako nyumbani dhidi ya Marseille na Villarreal. Taifa Leo.
Tukizidi campaign podium, masuala ya State House ile tumeona ni kama walikaa njaa kiasi. So what the Daily Nation has done is that it has actually chronicled the number of visits by different delegates or groups to State House. August 1st, there was a boda team. 2nd of August, no, August 9th, the Nairobi youth. A week later, Nyamira and Kisii counties were represented there. But for 2 weeks later, Meru County was there. September 2nd, Kuria West and Kuria East. September 2nd, Turkana. September 11th, Kisii. September 12th, Murang'a. September 13th, rather, 10,000 teachers. Hao ndo wanakuja kuchoma wanasema hawakushiba. Walimu. Na vile walikuwa wameimba tu tamuko. The president says the residence is no longer only for the privileged. Lakini ile picha wanatumia hapa ni kama wanakosea. Hii ni ile picha ya ikulu ya kitambo. Ya saa hii haina hii kofia ya juu.
Tumekwama hapa sana.
President Ruto has opened State House gates to delegations from across the country, explaining the meetings with the diverse interest groups are intended to resolve their grievances and let them have a say in governments. But critics counter that the seat of power has been turned into a platform of partisan politics, campaigns amid queries as to the source of millions being doled out to attendees. Kama watu walikuja 10,000 na wengi wao walipewa shilingi 10,000. 10,000 by 10,000. Hizo ni ngapi? 100 million. 100 million shillings. 100 million shillings ikatumika pale, na kuna wale nasikia walipata fedha zaidi. Kama maybe MPs wenye waliorganize, MCAs walikuwa wanapata kitita kikubwa zaidi. So State House, lakini wanasema walimu wanasema hawakushiba. Crisis in public universities as dawns set to strike, that's another story. Meanwhile, TSC's new plan to end a junior school tough wars. All right. That's the Daily Nation. Tuangazie kule nyuma kwenye gazeti la Daily Nation. Pale kuna picha ya Wakenya. New Zealand's Jody Beamish and Morocco's Soufiane El Bakali and Kenya's Edmund Serem celebrate with their medals after winning men's 3,000-meter steeplechase gold, silver and bronze medals respectively at the 2025 World Athletics Championships at Japan National Stadium in Tokyo yesterday. And it would be very unfair for us not to congratulate Serem. Ameshinda medali ya shaba kwa mbio za mita 3,000 kuruka viunzi na maji. So to Edmund Serem, congratulations for representing Team Kenya. Wacha tuone kama wameweka vitu zingine pale. Ni ukweli unasema bado tuko namba 2, lakini kama waliongeza Canada, I think won another medal, so walipanda juu kidogo. Meanwhile, Tanzania is top 6. Any other African country there ni kama Ethiopia also are doing well. They have 2 silver and 1 bronze. Leo kuna men's 800 meters hits at 1:35 p.m. Kenya being represented by Emmanuel Wanyonyi, Kelvin Kimtai, Nicholas Kebenei and Alex Ngeno, something to look forward to. Later at 3:07 p.m. in the women's 400 meters semi-final, Mercy Okech will be representing Kenya. Another race that Kenya should be interested in is women's 1,500 meters final. Another opportunity for us to actually win a medal here. We have Faith Kipyegon. Huyo atatupatia gold, mimi najua. Huyo hii ni guaranteed. Hiyo nayo hata tushughuliki sana. Hiyo ni gold tunakuja, tunaweza, in fact wanaweza ongeza tu hapo 3 gold medals so far. Because Faith Kipyegon is there, Dorcas Ewoi and Nelly Chepchirchir. So at 4:05 p.m. I can guarantee you, ni kama vile nimefanya weather. 4:05 p.m. that race takes about 5 to 10 minutes. So by 4:15, our gold medal howl will have gone up. I guarantee you that. Yes.
Diego dreams of being javelin champion again in Tokyo. Pia yeye yuko pale. YouTube man on his 7th championship aims to make the final, then fight for podium sport.
All right. Matters athletics.
The Star inside Gachagua Kalonzo team's 2027 game plan. They have appointed the think tank to be led by former Minister Mukisa Kituyu. This story is on page 6, and today we don't have a physical copy of the Star. lakini wanaongelea Gachagua and Kalonzo teams 2027 game plan. Sasa Gachagua ashasema yeye ndiye ametosha, wako united opposition, so we don't know if.
And this is the second paper today talking about Gachagua and his presidential bid.
Yes. Shoddy work, stalled projects, gobbled up 1.3 billion shillings CDF cash. This is according to Auditor General Nancy Gathungu. Constituencies 2024 audit highlights, according to the Auditor General. Shoddy work, 696 million shillings. Turkana Central, poor workmanship, 20 projects, 48 million shillings. In Tetu, 20 projects. Shoddy work ziko hapo zina cost 37 million shillings. Tarehe, various projects, 23.8 million shillings. Limuru, irregularities in implementation, cost 24 million shillings. And Luanda, 4 laboratories, 16 classrooms, 54 million shillings. According to this newspaper's illustration, that is the amount of money that inaenda kwa shoddy work.
CDF.
Other stories here, hurdles in race for Mombasa governor's seat. There's UDA Secretary General Hassan Omar and Mombasa Governor Abdul Swamad Nasir. In year 2027. Yamani, please. This story is on page 2. Disputes abroad, you can't bring divorce fight to Kenyan courts.
Munaenda munakosania Amerika alafu nakuja kufile divorce hapa Kenya. Kodi nasema hapana, koma kabisa. Sisi hatujui shida zenu, rudi huko pale mnaishi.
Today the star is not for sale, fresh, independent and different. Grab a copy for free.
And it comes with a complimentary MyGov pull-out for government tenders and jobs. All right. From the Star, we take a look at the Standard, another look at the possible political dynamics, war against Matiang'i. Political machinations, they call it. Former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i's declaration 4 months ago that he will run for president in 2027 has clearly struck a nerve in President William Ruto's camp. Behind the scenes, a covert plan is in motion, with state machinery rolled out, senior civil servants flexing power, money changing hands, and threats issued, all aimed at clipping Matiang'i's rising stature in Nyanza and across the country. So amequote watu kadhaa pale, mmoja ni Education CS Julius Ogamba is one of the leaders from that region. Anasema, it is true professionals from the Gusii community met. You can't threaten someone because of his or her political beliefs. These were top professionals from our community. That's Education CS. The senator from Kisii, Richard Onyonka, who supports Fred Matiang'i, says they are here every weekend flying in a dozen helicopters, intimidating civil servants, bribing people in the name of economic empowerment rallies. Where is money coming from? Matiang'i ni kama amefanya na for the, hii ni gazeti nyingine imetumia picha ya State House ile mzee hapa, unaona? Hii State House haina hiyo kofia, na muache siku hizi hiyo kofia ilitolewa.
Watakwambia usiwafunze kazi. Unajua venye watu wasema usitufunze kazi.
Wacha nisiwafunze kazi. JD.
JD.
Another story on the front page of the Standard salutes flying blind in city without CCTV. Despite millions sunk into the integrated urban surveillance system between 2012 and 2015, Nairobi has no working CCTV to capture real-time crime in the CBD and major roads. A week after lawyer Chalo Mbabu was gunned down in a hail of bullets, detectives still have no solid leads and are left to hope and pray for good Samaritans to step forward. This plan, this thing cost a lot of money. This CCTV. Na kuna ile control ilikuwa inaitwa command center pale Jogo House. Lakini nasikia sasa CCTV hazifanyi. Na zilikuwa zinapiga watu picha sana. Ukipita inapiga picha. When Jacob Juma died a few years back, tulionyeshwa mahali alitoka Westlands all the way mpaka akafika kule Ngong Road. And then ikafika mahali ikapotea.
Kuna mtu alingoa. Now what do they mean until good Samaritans step forward? Mtu akuja aseme
yes. They are just hoping that someone can come out and offer information. So that's the main story there. There's a very interesting story. Unaona ile wamesema usilete divorce kutoka US ukuja hapa. Sasa, page 3 of the Standard, another story linked to divorce. No kiss, no marriage. Court widens divorce grounds, redefines cruelty. So kama umezoea, if you're used to kissing your spouse, then you withdraw that affection and you no longer show them that level of affection. Those are grounds for divorce.
Wow.
This is a Kenyan court.
That is very interesting.
We've really progressed.
Yes.
So usiseme ati me I no longer kiss him nene. Utafutwa.
Only Justice Nyakundi ruled that no couple should be coerced into sustaining a marriage that exists only on paper. So imagine if it's something as small as a kiss, as small as that. How about coitus?
Yeah, of course, it's called denial of conjugal rights. That is grounds for divorce. Yes.
Very nice. Bring it on. Duale dares cartels opposing health sector reforms. On the back page, Fred.
Matters sports, athletics, I think we had already covered this. Teenager Serem shocks Top Guns to deliver Kenya's bronze. Congratulations to Serem. That's the Standard today.
All right. Finally, People Daily. This is Kalonzo's only chance. Inaitwangaje hii kitu?
Ile William Tell.
Yes, lakini kwa Kiswahili kuna jina ingine.
Inakaa kama crossbow.
Bas, Mshali. Ana head towards 2027. And this newspaper has done an analysis on Kalonzo's only chance at presidency in 2027. This story is on page 4 and 5.
And this must have been triggered by the declaration by Gachagua that he is also gunning for president. So yes, that's the People Daily. Let's take a look at the cartoons this morning, and we start off with the one on the Standard.
Yes.
Athletes in Kenya wako pale kwa track, lakini kuna sanctions, possible sanctions from the World Athletics Doping Agency. World Anti-Doping Agency. Kenya wamepatikana mara mingi. Could it be the reason why we're not performing so well at the World Athletics Championships? Could it be this? ADAC pia, ADAC is a local version of WADA. That's the Athletics Anti-Doping Agency Kenya. Kuna shida pale, sanctions. Cartoon on the Standard.
All right.
The Star?
The Star weighing options after matters by elections. We see former Prime Minister and the President there on top of this ballot box. Lakini kuna wale pale wana weigh options. Kuna the United Opposition are there as well. That's basically it, the Star.
All right.
By elections.
Matters by elections coming up. And finally, we do have this one on the Daily Nation. And we have a caricature of the former Deputy President akisoma Constitution 2010 upside down.
Yes.
Na anaongea na jamaa mwingine ambaye kuna cuffs lakini hazimfungi.
Yes.
They are too big for him. Yeah.
John Waluke.
John Waluke, MP for Sirisia. And I'm advised, run, why not? I was convicted. You are only impeached. This argument, because many are saying, once impeached, you're not supposed to run.
Yeah.
Yet he has declared he can run for presidency. We'll be having our Kili here in student Tamuliza. How come these things are happening? You can be convicted and still run for MP and sit in the House. You can also get impeached and run for president. All right. Very interesting discussions there. Once again, a reminder that we'll be having this panel. Peter Motuko Mutua, who's a governance and leadership expert, after the break, alongside James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North, and Wakili Harrison Kenyanjui, as we take a look at the big headlines.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, we are seeing you pale social media. Peter Kimani, good morning. Good morning to you. Christopher Tandi watching live from Borangi, Kanyambi, Kisii. I knew he was going to say this, with my wife, Lydia Kerubo. Hadi Tamati, have a lovely day. Have a lovely day to you and to Lydia too. Patrick Mwangi watching live nikiwa na Nyuki, anasema ndani kabisa. Caleb Wasike watching live from Nakuru City, Bondamali.
It's Pondamali.
Is it?
It's supposed to be Pondamali.
Pondamali, yeah. Okay. Ibwathi anasema Isaiah Mibwathi, MP Igembe Central. Very nice. Kennedy Jumba Asirigwa anasema good morning to you. Thank you so much for waking up with us and for staying tuned on Morning Cafe. Do interact with us on our socials, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube. On X at TV47 News KE. On X, I beg your pardon, TV47 Digital. My handle on X is at _Dida. The hashtag is Morning Cafe.
My handle on X is at Fred Indemoli. See you after the break.
is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up.
All right, good morning and welcome once again to TV47. This is Morning Cafe. My name is Freddie Ndemudi. We're just about to get into the state of the nation, taking a look at the big headlines this morning. Campaign podium, President William Ruto has turned State House into his campaign platform. That's the front page of the Daily Nation. On the Standard, war against Matiang'i, another political headline. Today we do have quite a number of political discussions on the front pages. Taifa Leo anazungumzia masaibu ya walimu Ikulu. Magazeti mengine kama People Daily wanazungumzia mambo gani haya? Anasema this is Kalonzo's only chance for 2027, na amechorwa pale kuna mshale moja, mkuki mmoja. One more political headline, inside Gachagua's Kalonzo team's 2027 game plan. So definitely matters to do with who's going to be the presidential candidate come 2027, especially from the United Opposition, given prominence on at least 4 different newspapers. Allow me to welcome my panelists this morning. We're very much privileged to have with us James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North. Karibu sana Bwana Gakuya. It is a pleasure to have you in studio.
Thank you. Good morning.
Alongside Bwana Gakuya, we have Peter Mutuko Mutua, who's a leadership and governance expert. Bwana Mutua, karibu sana.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, let's start with the issues surrounding the now famous meetings at State House. And the Daily Nation has done us justice. It has broken down the number of meetings over the last 2 months. From August 7th, when the Boda team visited State House. A week later, Nairobi youth were there. About another week later, Nyamira and Kisii counties were represented there. Delegates were there. 2 weeks later, more delegates from Meru. September 2nd, Kuria West and Kuria East. Turkana, the same day. A week later, Kisii were back there. A day later, Murang'a. And then this past weekend, 10,000 teachers were at State House. If you look at the story on pages 4 and 5 of this paper, they talk about how Ruto has turned State House into his new campaign podium. Now, while the president's allies say the meetings are not unique to his administration, critics say they are a blatant abuse of public resources for personal gain. Reports indicate that at 9 p.m. on Saturday, thousands of teachers were in long queues at State House waiting to receive 10,000 shillings handout after a meeting. They were the latest visitors to the seat of power that is lately hosting a steady stream of delegations. And one wonders, is it really wrong for the president to use State House as his campaign platform? He is the president right now. That's his home. That's his residence. What is a big deal about the president hosting delegations at State House? Bwana Gakuya.
Thank you, Ndemudi, for your question. But allow me to salute viewers wherever they are watching us from this morning. And coming to the State House delegation, let me say, it is not long because State House is a public home and it is not a private home for the president. And therefore, the public is entitled to pay visits regularly depending on the programs of the head of state. But the problem here, which appears, is that we have the history of the president when he was a deputy president, and the manner he did his campaign during the COVID time at his former residence in Karen. And obviously, what he has now turned is that campaign tool is what he has now transferred. The one he was now manning Karen, he has now transferred to the State House. And the problem is, as much as it is not wrong, and there's no crime of hosting Kenyans in your residence, it is wrong to misuse public resources because you could not turn the State House and the budget, which is a public taxpayers' money budget, you turn it to now become what we call handout to Kenyans. It would be very unfair and completely wrong when we cannot stand to ask where is President sourcing this money from, and if a president would like to like to tell Kenyans that this is his own wealth that he's distributing, we would require a clear statement from the president and the source of the money, because we cannot allow taxpayers' money to be turned into handout in this manner. And we, as much as I'm not against him campaigning, but I'm totally against dishing out public resources in this manner. Right. Because this money is people's money. And if the president wants to state very clear that this money does not belong to public, he should come very clear and clean and tell us, give us a whole audit on where he's sourcing this money from. Okay. And that is only why we can say, Mr. President, the money you are using, we can allow you to proceed using this money because this is your own resources, this is your own wealth. But as much as we know, Kenya is on a dire state because SHA is not working, capitation is not available, and even the manner in which we are funding our universities is still in a problem. And still we have enough money to keep dishing out in this big magnitude. Then the big question is, have we done all our priorities that we need to have done at this moment? And what we have left behind to do is to start this serious campaign and dishing out of these lots of money.
Okay, but Madam Mutua, listening to a member of the National Assembly say this, they're the same people who passed the budget, giving allocation even to State House. State House definitely has the discretion to spend different amounts in entertaining guests of the president, and these delegations could be and qualify as the same guests of the president. And probably even the handouts maybe could be seen as facilitation of guests of the president. Do you see anything wrong in some of the actions the president has taken in having these delegations and, according to the dailies, even giving some small handout to some of those people who come to State House?
Let me say that State House is our house. It belongs to any Kenyan from all walks of life. So should you find yourself in State House, that's your right, because there are people in this country that will never step in State House for whatever reason. But there is these delegations, like the ones we had last weekend, the teachers from across the country came. They came all the way from all parts of this country, and it's honorable and respectful if people come all the way that you facilitate their going back. So the thing you are calling handout, it sounds crude in the sense that it's not really in a political campaign. Somebody has come to your space, and at the moment, the person in charge of State House, or the person who is the official resident of State House, is the president. Then he has invited people across the country. So when they are facilitated, then it's not a big deal. The problem is when they are facilitated and the facilitation is delayed. Nobody should be delayed. You have come all the way from wherever you have come from. You've discussed what you have discussed. You have agreed or disagreed. You are supposed to be facilitated with speed so that it doesn't look like children's play, because teachers are not children. Mm-hmm. So, and therefore, teachers should be treated in an honorable manner. And as how much money was spent on that day and the source of the money, maybe that is what we could ask, the source of the money. But we wouldn't ask from the streets when we have members of assembly who are supposed to be telling us and not us, because we elected them to go and represent us. So they are the one. We cannot be going to the street and them joining us in the streets to ask the same questions. Right. And as in the budget has items, and I don't think one of the items in the budget that was allotted in State House is entertaining people of that number.
Yet the president has the discretion to entertain even foreign guests, local ones included.
He has, but within the budget.
Yes.
What I'm trying to say that the number of people flowing to State House is so big to be catered for within the budget that was.
All right.
You get my point?
Yes.
And again, there's nothing wrong giving people's money. There is nothing wrong hosting people in State House. let me ask you, if the president wanted to have a Kamukunji in Kamukunji, the normal Kamukunji grounds in Kamukunji near Gikomba, if he called all the teachers there, that would be construed to mean it's a political rally.
All right.
But when you call people in your space, you talk with them, everybody's talking to people. Even now, for me, we are going to talk to people. I'll be having a meeting of 5 people, 10 people, and I'll be facilitating them. Maybe the question is, the hotel cars, where is the source of my money?
Okay.
Maybe the president should tell us the 2 million that he gets every day from selling eggs is what he has been accumulating to give to the people.
All right. Allow me to welcome Wakili Harrison Kinyanjui to this panel. Karibu sana Wakili. We're just discussing the big headline on the front page of the Daily Nation. President William Ruto being accused of turning State House into a campaign podium. Now, some are questioning the resources he's using because it is said after about 10,000 teachers visited him at State House at the weekend, each one of them at least left with 10,000 shillings. And if a simple calculation would come to about 100 million shillings. But we do understand State House has a budget to entertain its guests and the president's guests. State House is also a public place where the president can host anyone. Is there anything wrong with the actions that the president has? Because the same president has been criticized of moving around the country, and they say his entourage is too expensive talking to people. Now we're criticizing him for staying at State House and hosting Kenyans.
Thank you very much. Good morning. By whichever metric you look, you view this sort of hosting of delegations at State House, it stinks of political campaigning. And very unfortunately, State House being now converted into a political podium, it's very sad. It's very unfortunate. It's one emblem, sign of abuse of power. And very sadly, he's using public resources to advance his political cause. Why do I say so? Everyone showing up in that so-called entertainment ground in State House is pulled from the areas where the president feels or perceives that his popularity is waning or otherwise in danger of totally disappearing. Most of these delegations are, in the end, sort of motion. Okay, do you want me to go for a 2-term or what do you say? Why make those remarks? Why use that sort of, entertainment ground, to then advance his 2-term, agenda? This is a president who has totally, without any notion of responsibility or any notion of accountability, veered off totally the script of leadership. And unfortunately, he's developed a thin skin. He's not amenable to criticism, positive criticism, telling him that, look, you're telling us as a people, as a nation, that you want to change and transform the Kenyan nation to be like the Singapore of Africa. And that the Asian tigers, the countries that were at par at some point with Kenya, have taken off. And he's telling us that get onto the digital platform. So why not have these people meet him on digital platforms? Why not even say that, look, wherever you will be, we will have some sort of platform, digital platform, then we can meet. Saves money, saves time, as allegedly he tells us. So you find that he's woven into these deep contradictions, both in his leadership style and policies and the execution thereof. Right. However, to suggest that he has a budget for entertainment and therefore he has the carte blanche, the blank check, the leeway to do with that money as he pleases, is to miss the point of allocating sufficient funds to State House in order to entertain its guests. And yes, you say that he can host foreign dignitaries at State House. But you ask yourself, why should he meet 10,000 teachers? What's the number of teachers in this country? 10,000? Everybody excluded will say that, why did you exclude me? What was the criteria that you used to have these people accommodated at State House? And why, in fact, should they leave State House with 10,000 shillings? So this is a misuse of taxpayers' money. And I think if an impeachment motion was ever to be brought about, this should be one of the grounds that he should be impeached upon, abusing his power in State House to secure political mileage using the podium, the platform of State House, while at the same time pretending to advance economic causes, economic empowerment for what you have the border team. And we heard other things that, okay, fine, he gave us these sort of goodies, but we actually never received them. Mm-hmm. That's deception. No leader worth his salt, being called a president, should be using that podium in such a manner. Lastly, I want to ask, and this is what we should interrogate as Kenyan people. If a president can think this low, who will hold him to account? Because Parliament does not hold him to account. The EACC does not hold him to account. He is living as though he's above the law. Mm-hmm. And this is a frustration the Kenyan people are facing. And they are seeing and watching from a distance. And then they tell him, I'm sorry, with what you are doing, we cannot afford you again doing it for another 5 years. And he takes offense. Please, Mr. President, don't take offense. Mm-hmm. No Kenyan wants to see you dishing out 10,000 shillings to these delegations that you're doing with this display of opulence. And they go back home hungry with empty stomachs, with no hope for any meal coming forthright in the future, as you would expect in a functional economy. And then he has a cheek to say, oh, Kenya is not a failed state. It is a failed state.
Well, he went a step further, Bwana Gachagua, and this is also controversial, that he used the same platform to actually dangle a carrot for the teachers. And he said, he promised them that out of all the houses constructed through the affordable housing plan, that 20% of that will be reserved for teachers. We do know that the process of acquiring houses built through that platform is provided for in the law, through the Affordable Housing Act. Do you get the feeling that this president feels he is definitely above the law, that he can dish out 20% of those houses to teachers? 3 months earlier, he had promised 20% of the same houses to disciplined forces. That is already 40%. He had already promised Harambee Stars houses. Is that the way that these houses should be used?
Idimoni, let us all agree that the head of state is just a custodian, given powers and authority by Kenyans to read them or to represent them for a constituted term of 5 years. And this is total misuse of power. And how do you conclude misuse of power? A misuse of power is where one who is entitled for the presidency has gone long and has now moved out of the path. Because one, there is a procedure of acquiring these housing. And you want to tell us that now there is a special groups which does not require to follow the procedure because you have a say and you only require a stroke of the pen and decide these groups should be given this. How special is this group? This group has contributed in a manner that any other Kenyan has contributed. And if it's a civil servant, and including myself, because I also contribute to the levy, we should give it equal way or equal manner of acquiring those houses. But when we are alive to have very special clusters that you can wake up and say, Kamau should get half of this housing, then it tells you we are out of order and we are not following a particular order, and then the president has become a role manager and he can decide anything, he can dictate anything because he's the president. This is total misuse of power. And what we are saying, Mr. President, you can do it to holding voters, because what you are doing is you have started this early campaign today, and you have forgotten that in fact you have various number of needed programs that you have not fulfilled. But you have forgotten that. But you have seen the projects that you can be able to foster now is your campaign in your public home, which is State House, and using public money and public resources, promising people that is hoodwinking. And I would ask teachers, Teachers, you know you have been always in a mountain, fighting with the government because of dues, your dues. You must watch your steps. If you get hoodwinked and you get to the box, it's upon you. But Kenyans, remember, the president will not even be able to host 30% of Kenyans to the end of his tenure. What is he going to do with the rest of the population that who has not been able to step to the State House? I think what he's doing, he's sinking himself a big pit, because I am sure this is a time bomb.
Right. Is the president misusing public resources in campaigning for his second bid for president? That's the question. The Daily Nation appears to have made that declaration that State House is now a campaign podium, and this is a conversation we'll continue with after the break. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Fred Indimuli. We continue looking at the big headlines this morning, and the big one, of course, is the claim on the front page of the Daily Nation that the president appears to have turned State House into his campaign podium. And even though many may not believe, many may not agree with this headline, Bwana Mutua, some of the pronouncements by the president come off as clear campaign. That populist pledge or promise to teachers, for example, that he will ensure that they receive 20% of all the houses built through the affordable housing program, cannot in any way stand the test of the law. There are provisions through the Affordable Housing Act. We saw the celebration that teachers had once he made that pronouncement. Do you now see why this headline could really be justifiable, that the president is indeed using State House, a very controlled environment, to dangle some political carrot?
Indimoli, let me tell you something. A politician is never a less politician because of the environment. Even if he's the one who was seated here today, he will issue statements that will sound like campaigns. As we move on, you'll find the politicians around me, you'll be hearing them speak like politicians. So as to whether he was supposed to speak otherwise or he's supposed to speak otherwise because that is State House, you cannot change a politician because of the environment. And again, he ascended to that office because of politics. So whenever he gets the slightest opportunity, the only reasonable thing to do is to do politics. And as to what he promised and the people were happy, it is not his problem to think for them. It is not our problem to analyze issues for them. My business is to tell you that I'm going to do A, B, C, D. And if you do not put me to account and remind me what I said, it is not my problem. So him promising, maybe what you would say, the promises of 20% of affordable housing maybe was beyond the scope. And also there's promising itself. The teachers themselves, they know that all of us across the country, we have been subjected to deductions. We are paying, we are giving the levies for the housing. So all of us from all walks of life, we should be given equal opportunity. And nobody should have the privileges of having a reserve of 20%, even 1%, because all of us, we are paying. So if all of us are paying 10, it is reasonable for us to be allowed to follow the due process in acquiring those houses or those units without favor of preserving some for some group of people.
All right. What do you make of the kind of reaction that teachers had? There was frenzy, excitement once the president pronounced that. Is it that we are too gullible as Kenyans, that we do not understand the law? Because there are provisions on how anyone can access these houses. Just because the president has said it, do we believe everything he says?
We are not gullible. Remember, they were, let me tell you something. And I don't know whether you go to church or you know the Bible. You see, Saul was pursuing to kill David. But any moment David was before Saul, he was portraying a very nice, harmless face and remorsefulness. So when somebody is happy in your presence, and a few days they start making noise. We are reading the newspapers today, they are making noise. They were not happy the way they were delayed. So you didn't expect people, while they're in State House, to behave otherwise. And as grown-ups as they are, and remember, these teachers, never forget that teachers do psychology. And they are using their own psychology while in a certain situation. Abraham told the people who wanted to kill him that Sarah is my wife, so that he's not dead. So this is a situation of behaving in a certain way, but then thereafter, it matters how you behave after you are being, now go back to your normal senses. Mheshimiwa Gachagua will tell you here, in political rallies, people can say all things, people can shout, tuko na wewe, Bazenga ndio tunajua. But thereafter, when they go back to their senses, you find you are losing one by one, two by two. Let me tell you, these people they have started making noise that they were not treated well. After all, it's not our business to know that they were supposed to be given 10,000. That means they were given money, then they started counting, and then they started displaying.
All right.
We are not even supposed to know what they were given. So for us to know today they were given each one of them 10,000, you calculated that it totaling to 100 million. That is not our business. The problem is for us to get to know that, then something somewhere is wrong. And something somewhere is wrong with the teachers. Maybe they are thinking otherwise. Or after they left State House, they found other people somewhere talking to them and telling them, you should change, you should not do this. Then they start making the noise.
All right.
Yes.
Wakili, what do you make of this excitement in trooping to State House? Because one of the things that the Constitution 2010 sought to remedy was the obsession with the presidency, with the center. Now we're seeing people, delegates, if I may call them delegates, trooping all the way from Turkana to see the president at State House Nairobi, from Nyamira, Meru, everywhere, teachers. Is it, and now I'm talking about the Kenyans, our level of understanding of what the Constitution sought to do to decentralize power and remove the obsession from the center, all that seems to be lost at this point?
I don't think so in that sense. Frankly speaking, I think it's the other way around. We have a president who is so obsessed with the dictatorial attitude, or should I say disposition that was there during the Moi period, or during the post-independence period, up to the 2010 Constitution. And probably let's give it to His Excellency the late Kibaki. He was able to at least rein in that greed for power, and he was able then to exemplify that this is what you do. The instrumentality of state power is supposed to machinate economic, social change that is positive. What we have now is a use of the instrumentality of state power to machinate and cause and precipitate negative social change. You have broken families because breadwinners are going back home without anything in their pocket. That has been orchestrated by the policies that he's executing. So for him to wield that power like a dictator before, and I should remind him about Marcos. And Marcos in the Philippines, and his own wife, Imelda had all these thousands of pairs of shoes because they wanted to display this opulence because they had arrived at their position in power. So we have a president who is still fixated with that history of a dictatorial president, as opposed to a leader who is under the Constitution. Now, when you now want to assert that power for him, what does he do? He sends the feelers, or whatever, the emissaries that he has, bring over the delegation. None of these people have offered, none of them have offered that, look, we will show up in the State House on such and such a day, and therefore host us, and therefore please prearrange for us, each of us, to get, a donation or whatever, token fee of 10,000. No, none of them are doing it. What he's saying and what he was saying, and he's quoted verbatim, and not putting any words in his mouth, is that, look, you come over to State House and you will be entertained. Kibaki told everybody, including his own village people, that don't show up in State House for tea. This is a place that we meet as leaders, but not to have tea parties. Now, coming even to the issue, probably you didn't give me the opportunity to speak to that issue of the houses. Come on, Mr. President, these are not your houses. These are not yours to dish out and saying that I'm going to give you 10%, 2%, or even 1%, or even 1 unit. Has he read and is he getting the advice of the Honorable Attorney General under Article 67(1) of the Constitution? Article 67(1) of the Constitution establishes the National Land Commission. The National Land Commission Act under Section 3 thereof says that the National Land Commission is going to manage those assets and resources that are for the nation and the county government. So he is violating the Constitution. He is violating the law. And then he tells our team, the footballers, the soccer players, that each one of you will have a 3-bedroom house if you win this tournament. Then he shifts and changes like a chameleon. And I say that no thief shows up on your door and tells you, I'm about to steal from you. And at 3 a.m., I will rob you. No murderer shows up with a knife or a gun and tells you, you see this weapon? I'm about to use it, unleash it against you to kill you and murder you. Same with him. He is of that predisposition. A thief comes only but to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And I heard my good friend say, you know about the Bible? That's John chapter 10, verse 10. So he's displaying all that. And he's coming with his policy, the instrumentality of the state. So the people out there are the victims, as it were, of his largesse. They will not refuse, because the economic scenario, the economic situation facing every average Kenyan person, other than they who are steeped in corruption, is of dire need. And therefore, if he offers, you show up, you'll get 10,000, who will refuse? So he's inverting the psychology. And this is someone who is so given to gaslighting the Kenyan people. He was telling us that we have demons that are floating all of us when we criticize him. See, because he doesn't want to be criticized. He wants to wield that power as a dictator. You don't have that power. And let me repeat for him. Article 73 of the Constitution tells you, you are supposed to be governed by the leadership and the integrity values that are espoused there. You are not being a leader, Mr. President, with all due respect to you. And the problem is that you give him some positive comment and he takes it as negative criticism. As a people, as a nation, we ask ourselves, did we vote you in there to go and play politics? Which is why I differ with my friend to say that, of a politician, expect politics. But we elected you into the position of a president.
All right.
Have you forgotten that? The presidency is supposed to be the office by means of which you unite the Kenyan people, whether they voted for you or they didn't vote for you. Not to tell people who are in the class of teachers that we will give you 20% of this affordable housing. Excuse me, by what faith, by what authority do you do that? Are you the one constructing those houses? Is that your penny or shilling that is being expended there? But you want to say, this is my project. For heaven's sake, Kenyans are being taxed under the yoke of your policy to have those houses. And then you dare take them. You don't give them the opportunity to say that, I want that house as well. Well, I could resell it. But you have the cheek and the audacity to tell 20% I'll give you. Oh, you struck a players, I'll give you these houses. Who are you?
All right. These are the questions we're asking. Is the president playing too much politics within State House? He's been accused of using State House and state resources for his 2027 re-election campaigns. This is a story on the front page of the Daily Nation. Inside pages, they talk about Ruto turning State House into his new campaign podium. And while the president's allies say the meetings are not unique to his administration, critics say they are a blatant abuse of public resources for personal gain. So each of the 10,000 teachers who attended the Saturday meeting was to receive 10,000 bob, meaning in total the government spent at least 100 million shillings on the handouts and more on logistics. And people are asking, whose money was that? Many questions there abound.
If you can do a small, simple estimate, you will find that if a single group will take home 100 million, and then so far you have like 10 groups, it tells you are almost spending 1 billion Kenya shillings for now. And assuming that we are going to have this particular exercise for the rest of the 2 years, then Kenyans should expect billions to go to drain.
But you should call him to account. You are the National Assembly. You should call him to account. How do you do that? Why don't you ask Felix Kosgei, because he's the one who arranges these delegations. Okay, we gave you a budget for entertainment, but surely you didn't tell us that out of that money, you're going to be dishing out 10,000 to everybody who shows up in State House. Okay, how about the foreign diplomats? How much have you apportioned that they should get? And who gave you that authority when you came to us as Parliament? So I really would like to see that come into the floor of the House.
I'm sure that you obviously know the answer. The president will just come and say he's using his own money.
But you're prejudging it. Let us see as Kenyan people that you've done it.
Gentlemen, we'll have to wait and see what happens next. If at all the president will be questioned by anyone, if at all, about what he's doing at State House. For now, the campaigns continue. I want us to move to a different conversation altogether, still to do with politics, and this is the latest pronouncement by the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua about his bid for presidency. And this has generated quite some discussion. There are questions about the possibility or the probability of him doing so, given the fact that he was successfully impeached by the Senate, although there's a case in court that is yet to be determined. One of the cartoons has a caricature of the former deputy president reading the Constitution upside down, and someone else talking to him, and that's the MP for Sirisia, telling him, I was convicted, but I still ran for office. You are only impeached. And that comparison has been repeated on the front page of the Taifa Leo, quoting the former deputy president himself saying, iwapo mbunge wa Sirisia John Waluke aliruhusiwa kuwania licha ya kuhukumiwa miaka mingi jela, hata mimi ninaweza. Bwana Gakuya, so far we've had the former deputy president almost playing second fiddle and almost playing kingmaker, and many people expected that that was the role he was going to play in the united opposition going to 2027. Why do you think he found it necessary to declare that he too will run for president?
Idimoni, I don't want to respond on behalf of the the former deputy president ambition to compete for presidency, but I would say we have seen previous cases where the current head of state and his former, they were on a tag of this kind of serious case in Hague. Mm-hmm. And when the matter was brought to the judiciary, locally here, then the pronunciation of the court was, their hands are open to contest, because by then, I would say that, in fact, the answer was there was not yet a conviction, but there was a matter, and when the matter is ongoing, you are always a suspect until when you are proven guilty. But this matter where now Gachagua has been already punched by the final nail of the Senate, what I would say is that there is what we call the processes of appeal. And since he's on a process of appeal, until when the highest court of the land declares that he was collectively impeached, that's only when his interest can be totally terminated. But as of now, I am sure that I am not a lawyer personally, but the lawyers can have various ways of interpretation of this, and I'll be happy to hear from lawyer Kinyajui and his opinion. But what I would say is that the final whistle can be determined by the judiciary, because already the process has taken place and it has reached its final conclusion. But the matter is now on an appeal process in judiciary. Let me hear from the lawyer.
All right. Bwana Mutua, what do you feel this does to the united opposition, this declaration? Do you feel that probably it is a plus that different candidates, including Gachagua himself, declare their interest in the presidency and then later on converge to get one candidate? Or do you think it slows them down, given the fact that he is a strong candidate as well?
Gachagua, what Gachagua is doing is the right thing. Let me start from there. Because you cannot just sit and say, I am guilty as accused, and you have gone ahead and appealed the ruling. Senate impeached Gachagua after he was impeached as the National Assembly. But we have legislator, that is legislative. We have the judiciary. He ran to judiciary and the appeal is still working on. So he cannot sit down and start campaigning and going to America just as an ordinary member of DCP. And a person who comes to feel, to make other like a bride, a bride, he needs to portray himself, politically speaking, he needs to portray himself as a worthy opponent of our president. And again, he cannot just join people and start being the person who is being sent here and there and making announcements. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If there's somebody who thinks that Gachagua is doing wrong, even to the extent trying to remind him that he was impeached, and then now it's going ahead and even to bringing other people that were even convicted and became MPs and so on. So we are waiting for the judiciary to pronounce themselves whether he is suitable or not suitable. And you cannot appear as not suitable by assumption until it is declared that you are not suitable. So as long as it is declared that you are not suitable, you are suitable.
All right.
As the law says, you are innocent until proven guilty. In the same spirit, Gachagua, let Gachagua be, and you people, whether in the opposition or in the government, do as you are supposed to do to make sure that you win the election, but let Gachagua be, move around, do whatever he does. I mean, that is democracy.
Okay.
That is democracy.
And whatever happens now will definitely set a precedent. This is the highest ranking state officer to be impeached in this country. Whatever goes, even legally, it will set jurisprudence that it happened this way and this person was still able to run. What is your assessment of the situation, legally speaking?
Well, thank you very much. That's the correct position. If we can be recalled, in 2013, we had the current president and the former president, His Excellency Uhuru, facing trial at the ICC. And a 5-judge bench was presented with that scenario. And they ruled that, A, the presumption of innocence against any accused person operates to bar any accusation as though and to pass the verdict of guilt at that stage. B, the second issue is that the Constitution does say that until you exhaust the appeal mechanisms, you still have your presumption of innocence, and the right to vie because you have not exhausted the appeal mechanism. Even though stage 1, you have found yourself accosted by this verdict of you're guilty. Then you appeal, and on appeal probably that is overturned. And then again there is another superior court. I mean, it can go to the Court of Appeal or it can go to the Supreme Court, where now the verdict could be hanging while the election process is ongoing. Let's remember that the final verdict may decree or declare that in fact you are innocent. And therefore, whatever position that you took up at the point that the trial was ongoing is affirmed, and therefore you can't lose your seat. But again, if the final verdict is that, look, the very first incident of your having been held guilty, that stands. So you lose your position. You
so even if you're president and then the court declares that you're actually rightfully impeached, then you lose that position?
Then you lose that position. Wow. So let's accept that is a constitutional underpinning that we have in terms of that. And that was resolved, settled in 2013, which is why when President Uhuru Kenyatta was elected and the current president as his deputy, that issue did not arise during the presidential election at all. It was resolved at that point. And even on appeal, it was resolved that that is a legal position. So I haven't seen a shift in terms of the script of our constitution. Nothing has changed in terms of our constitutional provision. And in terms of precedent, that pronouncement also has not changed. But now coming to His Excellency, the former DP, Gachagua, you can speak of him not exercising his political right. Let's remember, Article 38 of the Constitution confers upon you, anybody, everyone in the Republic, to exercise that political right without any restriction that is crystallized in law or in a court judgment. So that brings us again to the cyclical argument that, look, he hasn't had a final verdict. And like we have been told, the Senate did render its verdict. So the case is pending right now, adjudication before the High Court. It's supposed to come up on the 23rd of October. And there are issues that have arisen. So it may take a longer period than the 2027 election period in terms of conclusion, and therefore he may have that opportunity. Finally, why is it raising a furore? Why is it, an issue to some people? Because some people had imagined, and especially they who are in government, that by impeaching him, you have buried him. You have buried the constituency that, he was supporting, and therefore you have to realign. In my humble view, it would be wrong to stifle and to try and constrict or, as it were, totally obliterate anyone's right to exercise their political rights. Okay. And therefore, being his right, we should all accept that he has as much right to say what he wants to say within the political space that is afforded him by the Constitution and the applicable law.
All right. Now let's look at
yes. Before you go to
yes,
James, Wakili, good Wakili here is telling us the appeal may go beyond 2027. And he's telling us as long as it is alive, you are not guilty. You are, as you know,
the presumption of your innocence still holds.
So the presumption of your innocence still holds. So that nothing stops you from getting.
Let's all disabuse ourselves of this notion that because of the impeachment, he's barred for life. If Honorable Gachagua had abandoned everything, the verdict is now shut at that point. The way I think Honorable Kawira did. I mean, she did not appeal or whatever. I don't know if there's an appeal ongoing, but so far in the public domain, there's nothing. So I think there are those people who are so politically bent into condemning him. I mean, like, I'm not here to support or, align myself with him in that sense. I'm just here to speak to what the law says. And as a fact, as a Kenyan nation, we have to accept that. And if we did accept it for the current president, who was facing far much more grave charges at the ICC with his running it, Uhuru, and they went on to win, and they went on even to get entrenched as well in 2017 in that scenario. We didn't provide that. We didn't bring it back on the table. So why should we condemn this one person? So as a people, we should just, why get so fixated with this idea? He was impeached, you were impeached, and therefore you don't have it. Come on. I mean, the law affords him every opportunity. Article 27(4) of the Constitution forbids you from discriminating against anyone.
And thank you so much, Wakili, for that clarification. But now there's the politics of it, Bwana Gakuya. There's an article in the Daily Nation done by Macharia Gaidho, a former journalist who's a political pundit as well. And he says that a Gachagua presidential ticket would be a blessing to William Ruto. And he looks at what one of the main accusations in that impeachment was that Gachagua was a tribal bigot, that he has rallied the Mount Kenya region around him purely through tribalism. And even the broad-based arrangement has in some way appeared to isolate the Mount Kenya region because of that. And they say that a Gachagua ticket would mean more isolation and therefore an easier route for William Ruto, because it would just say the Mount Kenya region is on its own because Gachagua is a candidate, if at all he fails to work with some other candidates. Do you see that risk ahead?
On the onset, let me say, Macharia Gaidho has his freedom to do his political analysis, and there is nothing wrong with that. And that is his opinion. But the correct position is Gachagua has not quit from his opposition movement. That relationship between him, Kalonzo Musyoka, Wamarwa, Matiang'i, and the rest, it still exists. And what I would say is, dealing with William Ruto, a politician must be wise enough and must work ahead of his game. And I don't find anything wrong for Kalonzo Musyoka to go out and looking votes from Kenyans. There's nothing wrong for Matiang'i moving around the country and looking for votes. And there's no problem for also Amaro doing so. But this team must be sure that there's a convergence stage. And that convergence stage is what it should remain secret. Because as a wise politician and a wise opposition, if they're intending to push Ruto out of power, they must not put all their ammunition cards on the table. And therefore, in this case, this is the way it should be. Because have you heard Caroso complaining that Gachagua now has started asking for votes? Because even from the beginning, he never told Kenyans that he's not a candidate. And that does not mean there is any grudge or a division in that opposition lineup. What here is that it is too far to open all your cards between now and 2027. And therefore, what is the best way to go? The best way to go is to have strategy. And it is the strategy of these candidates to warm their own crowds. Okay. Make sure that their crowds are strong. And but finally, they must have their own white card, which is away from the table. Right. And I can tell you for sure, Kenyans should not see Gachagua going the wrong direction. And let me tell you, if you can ask Kenyans today, do your own public survey, they will tell you, they will require a president who is a candidate president, who has muscle to deal with William Ruto. Okay. So Kenya does not need that very quiet, very unwarm candidate. They need somebody who can be able to push the sitting president on a manner that he can feel that there is somebody. But if you tell Gachagua to play his back role, then it tells you that who will be at the front.
All right. Yet there will be consequences and even possible fallout if Rigathi Gachagua declares he wants to be president and his supporters see him as a formidable force and a formidable candidate. Then at some point, due to the negotiations, he has to withdraw and back a different candidate. Do you see a possible risk of a possible fallout from his supporters?
Not really his supporters, but people maybe they once thought that he came there to make them big as he is, but his supporters may not have a reason to go away from me because if he's a presidential candidate. But other people may decide, maybe for me, Honorable Gachagua knows them better, whether they are properly glued together, that whatever happens, nobody will run away from them. But truth be told, if Gachagua was to be a presidential candidate, there are people who will feel that they have been shortchanged because they thought that being impeached he has been given an eternal punishment of never contesting.
Do you see that affecting the united opposition?
To some extent, it could be united. To some extent, it could be affected. But for now, let's not speak of the bad things that will happen tomorrow. We stay with the issue that it is Gachagua's right to say today that he thinks that he can contest in 2027, and he thinks he's the person who can remove the president from power by way of ballot. And if any other person feels uncomfortable by those pronouncements, then those people do not have proper legal team that tells him that Gachagua's matter, though impeached, he appealed. And the appeal is still live. As long as it's live and you do not know, you can't determine, you do not manage the calendar of the judiciary or tell them, coerce them to tell them we need a ruling today. Right. So because they may find it worthwhile to extend it until after election. So I would wish all the political players, the big and small, would plan their politics, plan their ideologies, plan their manifestos as if Gachagua was one of them.
Okay. Wakili, what political risks are you seeing, especially for the united opposition? Many would have hoped that Gachagua would work in the background and boost one of them, and I think they were very comfortable with that idea. The fact that Gachagua comes out also now as a possible presidential candidate, don't you think that that could change the dynamics somewhat within that grouping?
Well, at the outset, I need to state that I'm not here to speak for him. I wouldn't know. But from the outset, once you read, because your context was Machara Gaido's article, I can't sink that law because what Machara Gaido's article, with tremendous respect to him, nothing to demean Macharia in the least. I mean, he is so invested in these diatribes and accusatory remarks. Oh, Gachagua never seemed to have learned from his fallout or, the impeachment. Gachagua is a tribal bygone. Gachagua has all these failings as a leader, and he ought to have seen the light by now. And he has, as it were, according to Macharia, accentuated the wrongdoing that led to his, fall from grace. I should say fall from grace, rather than orchestrated fall from grace. I don't know whether he should bear the burden of uniting the opposition, or it should be the responsibility of the entire people, or should I say the conglomerate, the people who see themselves or view or project themselves as the opposition. It should be the obligation, the burden of everyone who wants to be there to, contribute to that unity. So what I see is a disappointment that Gachagua, from my own view, Gachagua was perceived to have, taken a laid-back position. I'm not going to offer myself for the presidency, but I'm going to pull the voting bloc that is behind me, behind anyone who is out there to offer himself or herself. This is not different from the shenanigans that are playing out with Ruto. So, and then again, having said that, you have a batch of politicians that are from the old cloth. I mean, Matiang'i was in government, Kalonzo was in government, and Mokisa Kitui, with tremendous respect, was in government. Eugene Wamalwa was in government. All these people, in my humble view, are feeling the heat of, should I say, the cold of being outside government, and they haven't been handpicked. But look at they who joined the broad, or whatever it is that you want to call it, that mongrel of a government. who are, political losers in, whatever constituency, whatever political platform that they elected. Former Governor, His Excellency Kabogo, with tremendous respect to him. Former Governor, His Excellency Joho, with tremendous respect to him. Former Governor for Nakuru. Yeah, absolutely. Those are people who were, as they were, in the cold, but they were co-opted in government. This is not the way we are supposed to be led as the Kenyan people, where government becomes a platform for political failures, and we don't have new blood, new ideas injected into governance. Okay. So I'm saying, if Gachagua has disappointed they who wanted to see a front for a united opposition, too bad for them. Because in my view, the responsibility should be upon each one of they who are in the opposition.
In your assessment right now, in that united opposition, do you feel like they've left it to Gachagua to carry the burden of uniting the opposition?
Absolutely, which is why I'm saying the disappointment is going to be more accentuated. It's going to be more acute, and probably is what Macharia Gaither is speaking in his article in the Daily Nation at page 15, where he says that, with this sort of thing, Ruto has a walk in the park sort of scenario in 2020. No! That's not to say that, nobody will come up there. How about Okia, for instance, if he offers himself and the Kenyan people accept him? And I'm not saying that they will. But what we have a black swan sort of scenario. Fred shows up, or, he shows up. Come on, yeah, absolutely. Why are we saying that these people are the ones to spearhead the opposition against Ruto? I reject that notion. And this is the sort of railroading our ideas that we should accept these are the people. The Kenyan people have gotten to a point, I don't want to use a Nepalese example to say that, look, you get out, and, we are done, over with you. I'm not saying that we take that approach. But I think the sort of scenario that we are headed to is that you look at what we're being offered by Ruto, two-term, and we say, now look, we can't go through what you've taken us through. And then you look at the opposition and we say, no. Even you people, we cannot go with you because you don't seem to be having anything different.
We've been witnessing what has been happening. Rigathi Gachagua even offered his residence in Wamunyoro, becoming the epicenter of this unity of the opposition. And one wonders, if he's the one, and it could be felt that Rigathi Gachagua was carrying the burden of uniting the opposition. Now, by declaring his own candidature or his bid or his ambition for presidency, does that affect this burden of uniting the opposition? That now, I'm no longer going to carry this burden, everyone else should chip in and carry their weight?
Well, Wakila has illustrated very well. Gachagua, while he was the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, the opposition was there. They was in the field playing their game in their way. So if Gachagua when Gachagua joined them, they felt that he was senior to them. That's their own misjudgment, because they were there long before he joined them. Gachagua was very busy as the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, because Gachagua never resigned. He was impeached. So it was not by own choice that he joined them. He never left the position of the deputy president and joined them. In fact, is when the impeaching process was going on, some of them started endearing to him. We started seeing people making movement towards him. Probably they thought, and I would say probably, that he had a sizable following and they need it. And maybe, remember, there was a story of 2013, before we went for election in 2013. There are people, it's not my business to remind them here, but it's known, people know, that the candidate of Uhuru and Ruto was nowhere in the last 2 months of election. Last 5 months of election. They were thinking of other candidates. But it reached a point that Uhuru himself and his running mate Ruto then, they saw that there was other external forces that were interfering with their candidature. And I remember one of them pronounced that kulikuwa na mademon ilikuwa imetuingia. That's why we misjudged. So these people, in the same spirit, they were comfortable until Gachagua was impeached. And when Gachagua was impeached, he never, be careful with a man who is down and still rolling. That guy came out and started moving around the country and talking to people as if he was not impeached. I can see something here on page, referred to page 15, where Gaido says that it is very interesting that Gachagua is moving around and he is aware that he was impeached. I would wish to tell Gaido, I don't think Gachagua has been declared not normal. This gentleman is normal and knows what he's doing. And I said, and I'll say it again, he has a very strong legal team that is advising him, don't sleep, keep on moving on.
Okay.
So the issue of these other people, as he says in the second last paragraph, that the likes of Eugene, Kalonzo Musyoka, former interior friend Matiang'i, they will start feeling not comfortable because they are being pushed on the periphery.
But see, look at it this way. Look at it this way. What if we had a Eugene Wamalwa who was full throttle, full force out there and raising up his constituency, or rather they who support him? What if we had also Kalonzo Musyoka raising up, coming boldly with his constituency, so that now it is a joint front, so that he is on all cylinders there. They are firing on all cylinders, and then they come together. But this idea of that, okay, we are waiting to be united by some person who was Gachagua. This is wrong. Sorry, I had to say.
It's okay. Let me tell you, the article by Gaido serves two purposes: to warn the opposition and to inform the government. If these people, to warn the opposition, if you continue the way you are continuing looking at Gachagua as a bad person in here, you will ultimately lose.
Right.
And then it's also informing the current regime, either you are united, you are going to lose. So it depends on your understanding.
Yet we are observing Rigathi Gachagua and the actions he has taken. And of course, the by-elections that are coming up on November 27th are a big indication of what, and the burden that Rigathi Gachagua is. When we come to the case of Mbeere North, he's the only one who appears to be ceding ground for the sake of unity. He withdrew his candidate from Mbeere North. Other parties like Jubilee, which is supposed to be in that fray, did not withdraw a candidate. Other parties, and I'm mentioning all of that, even his own candidate had to jump ship and is still in the fray. Don't you see that, yes, indeed, Rigathi Gachagua appears to be the one more concerned about the unity of this opposition. The rest feeling they can do whatever it is they need to do. And that is affecting his position there.
In fact, Dimoli, this is what now clearly showing the maturity on the progress to move to unity. And remember that, in fact, if you want to attain the bigger picture, you must be seen to be of a decision-making from smaller things. Because if this intended united opposition is intending to have a broader unity at the end, then the leadership should start from these small portions of by-election. There's no need of this united opposition to fight for award contest. What you need to check is to use the graphics that can give you the best candidate. And if the best candidate does not come from my party, but the best candidate seems to be coming from a particular party within our united front, then the leadership is to probably to sit and allow the stronger candidate to take the mantle. And the example is that Mbeere position, where Gachagua was pushed not by the Mbeere people, but by the design that he did his own survey. And his survey gave him some realization of some strength. And he realized that his party in Mbeere is number one because it has had over 60%. But in terms of his candidate, he was slightly lower than the candidate known as Karis, who is the Democratic Party. And for that reason only, he decided, yes, then already the ground has shown who is the most preferable candidate. Then for the unity, we need to fight and support this stronger, all of us, so that we can win that position. And I think that's the way, that's the leadership. I don't think that we need to fight in these moral portions if really we are working for the bigger picture. And in short, let me tell you, nobody should blame Gachagua to have declared his presidency. Today, even though his journey to presidency might be stuck ahead, he has a party, and there is no any single law in Kenya which has renewed him to be a party leader of a particular party. And therefore, he is building his party nationally and making his party stronger. Who has said that, in fact, even his party cannot be able to brought up another candidate if Gachagua cannot, in any way, can be stopped by any nature.
Yes, yet withdrawing a candidate for such a contest in Mount Kenya region, which Gachagua himself was keen to show that he is in control over, that's an indication of something. We will not get another opportunity for a mega by-election like this one, 23 by-elections across the country. What other opportunity to show your prowess as a newly formed political party when you're withdrawing candidates for such a contest?
You know, prowess and reason, they are not, most of the times they are not good neighbors. Sometimes you could say prowess, that I can do this and that, but sometimes you allow reason to prevail. And Gachagua, as a reasonable man as he said, and I don't know, we have kept on speaking about Gachagua, and we have not spoken about Justin Muturi, because the candidate where he's seated for is a guy who is going to contest on DP belonging to Justin Muturi. Mm-hmm. I wish at this moment would say Muturi is a good bargainer, because the seat was held by Roko. Roko had been was elected on DP, and then Muturi thought, I have a party. Why should I just decide this party doesn't have a candidate? Why can't I negotiate that my candidate is given the support so that when he wins, my relevance remains? Mm-hmm. So Muturi at this point is a man who is bargaining power. I like it because he was able to convince powerful wave of Gachagua and his supporters to step down in favor of his candidate. And again, as I've said, there are times and situations that your prowess should not be what you consider than reason. There are some times when reason is more important than prowess. Mm-hmm. In this sense, if you allow you become a stronger person if you allow the weak persons to have their day. Mm-hmm. You become a stronger person. He doesn't want to force things. And after all, this is by-election. DCP was born the other day. And before DCP came into existence, there was DP. And that's why I insisted. The people who are there before he joined them should be so strong that they are the ones who are taking him round, but not him seeing that he's the one who is taking them round. Right. And for this reason, when Gachagua decides that DCP, let's have the candidate from DCP not contesting against a candidate of DP, and he wants the opposition to be united. That gesture needs to be respected, and I wish all parts of the country where there is such kind of competition between this and that, they could behave in such a manner if they really respect him.
Yes, the question is, are the rest of the leaders in that front doing the same? Because if you look at the headlines today and on most of the front pages, the Star, for example, they're talking about inside Gachagua and Kalonzo teams, 2027 game plan. On the People Daily, this is Kalonzo's only chance. And it gives an indication that, yes, the focus is there and who will ensure that these are united until they get one candidate. But the case, and we're just using this as an example, Mbeere North, that the other candidates, for example, Fred Matiang'i, there are two parties that are linked to him. One is Jubilee, that is already fielding a candidate, and a different candidate from a different party still linked to him, who's even using Matiang'i's image to campaign in Mbeere North. How come these other leaders within this so-called united opposition front are not able to cede ground, probably for DP, if at all they agree that that's the strongest candidate?
Well, I can't speak for them, really, but sometimes you have to look at this, from the political lenses. And the political lenses are such that they become very fuzzy at some point, because there are people who are driven by greed in some other political motivations. And some could be just Trojan horses. emissaries of the incumbent at the moment. There are all those voices. We've had occasion where accusations are being leveled at politicians so-and-so. Oh, you're just a mere puppet of so-and-so. But as Muntu has said, give it to him. Honorable Gachagua has said, okay, I cede. And your question is very poignant. Like, excuse me, you who are in Jubilee, what do you want to concede? You who are in Wiper, have we seen any concession coming from you? It needs to come out, not only as a sign of good faith, but also to we, the Kenyan people, who are not in the political machinery, that these people are moving towards governance. Let me remind them that if you look at the German experience, the SDP, the Social Democratic Party, versus the Greens, they were fighting at some point, but they got into, they funneled whatever is their interest. Now they're in government. Look at also the Israel. Netanyahu had not won outright, but somehow he got the support of these other political parties. They sat down. Under our own political framework, we have the Political Parties Act, which allows political parties to have a post-election coalition agreement. And this is what Azimio was all about, that they had formed a coalition. They were not just one. So they came as political parties and had this platform. So for me, what I would be waiting for to see is more of a sign of good faith. But this is again what I have to ask. Where are you taking us? We probably need to seed all of them together. And this is a tragedy. We haven't had an opportunity by these politicians to sit there and, we had the presidential election. Everybody stood there and we were able to ask them all the questions, interview them. Right now, we haven't had occasion to interview them. Now, look, these are your credentials. This is where you're taking us. How are you going to, now, counter what it is that you're telling us? They haven't told us from their own two lips.
Do you think, for example, that even this declaration by Rigathi Gachagua that he will run for president is in response to that fluidity of unity, that these other people are not looking very committal or carrying their weight in as far as ensuring the unity stands, and therefore it's just a way of him saying, hey, I can actually stand my ground here?
I think for him, it is important that he consolidates what you would call his political base, so that when he gets on the table, he has what it takes to say that, look, I'm here to negotiate A, B, and C. Like I've used the German example. The Greens were able to say that, look, these are our constituents. The bloc that we bring on the table, what we are bringing on the table is actually formidable. So if Gachagua takes a backseat and he doesn't have any support from his political base, which is why I differ with Macharia Gaido, with tremendous respect, that, Gachagua seems to be so fixated, so focused on his Mrima, or Morima, or whatever it is. And therefore, he's losing sight of the rest of the nation. No. You look at those experiences, for instance, in the Netherlands. What was the scenario in the Netherlands? Or even just lately, just the other day in France. You find that people come with their political machinery and then they meet at the point where they have to decide. We will funnel all our resources into governance, into the government. So for him to be criticizing in that way, I think it is wrong. And should I say myopic? I don't want to say reductionist or sort of very simplistic to say that, Gachagua, you should just shed off this notion, this idea that you're tribal. Come on. How about ODM? How about its leader wearing and carrying this tribal tag of the Luo? Tremendous, I love the Luo people. But he has that tag. How about Kalonzo having this tag of, I don't want to.
No problem. Continue.
Yeah, but you see, they are carrying that tag. How about Matiang'i? With tremendous respect to him, he has this Kisii tag. But when now Gachagua says, okay, fine, I'm gonna get the Marima people, and I am bringing them, as a people, as a bloc, so that then we will negotiate and see how we can move forward. Nothing wrong. Internationally, I've drawn those examples from Israel, from the Netherlands, from Germany. What is wrong with this now? So I think this idea of, looking at it with such deep self-hate that, Africans, you didn't go there, Africans, you didn't. Come on, they're doing that even in Sweden. They're doing that. This self-deprecation is so rotten, and this is what we are being sold every single day, and the gaslighting that was happening in State House. Oh, you shouldn't be so underrating yourself. As third world, we should be, first world. Come on, you have have to have a base. You have to have a base. Like I was saying the last time, the Russians speak Russian and they're able to develop. The Japanese, they speak German. Here, we don't even have Kiswahili. We have people in government who cannot even express themselves in Kiswahili. What a tragedy.
We have about 2 minutes. I want each one of you to get your parting shot. Let's start with you, Bwana Mutua. Just your parting shot.
Well, my parting shot, because today you brought us here to talk about politics, right from State House to Bere to opposition and so, and reading the Gaido's article. My parting shot will be the ones in position. If you've heard what Gaido has said, the ones in the government, you have heard what Gaido has said, and I say, you prepare. Just prepare, both sides prepare, as if the people you think they are strong on the other side, they will be on the ballot box. Don't assume they will not be there. Assumptions will not give you votes. Assumptions will not give you a good manifesto. Sit down and allow reason and not prowess to prevail.
Okay, thank you. Bwana Gachagua, you go next.
My parting shot, I would like just to point out that the president should remember that State House is not his property, that is people's property. And he must remember that he took an oath of office. He should not be seen misusing power and misusing resources. Kenya is on a very critical moment where the billions he's now dishing out should be used on a prudent manner and safeguard some areas of very important need. And therefore, I would like him to check back his side millers and see where that kind of money should be taken to take care of the needy Kenyans.
Okay, thank you. Wakili, you finish.
Yes, I think I speak to the Kenyan people. We need to change the paradigm. We have sunk because the politicians that we have right now come and dish out money to the electorate and then they get elected. They forget everything about their policies, about what they promise, about what it is that they said is their manifestos or whatever it is that should be leading them. We need to get to that point and say that you want me to elect you, show me your game plan, show me your commitment, and I'll hold you to account. And then we, the Kenyan people, will tell him halfway down the line, there's something called a recall. We will recall you. We will get rid of you. Now, right now, they don't have any script. They don't have anything. And then the politician is likely to say, look, I was elected by virtue of that political party. And I wonder, the Kenyan people, are they ready and prepared to see a parliament that has a majority of independent candidates? Probably we need to have that discussion.
All right. Thank you so much, Wakili Harrison Kinyanjui, James Gakuya, who's the MP, Embakasi North, and Peter Mutuku Mutua, Leadership and Governance Expert. Thank you for your time at TV47 this morning. Today, the dailies were so full of politics. The front page of the Daily Nation talks about campaign podium, and that is what they're calling State House Nairobi, where the president has, in the last 1 month or so, hosted at least 10 different delegations from different parts of the country, and those who go there say that they live with something small here and there. War against Matiang'i is the front page of the Standard this morning. I look at others, masaibu ya walimu Ikulu. Hapo ndo kuna hadithi ambayo walimu wanasimulia mambo yaliyotukia Jumamosi iliyopita walipoenda Ikulu ya Nairobi. Another political headline, inside Gachagua, Kalonzo teams 2027 game plan. And on the business day, People Daily rather, this is Kalonzo's only chance. That's the People Daily. Politics today. On our X page, TV47 Digital, we do have a poll currently running. Do you believe the government has delivered on its key pledges so far? So far, 78.6% say no, 21.4% say yes. 23 hours left, and you can give us your view as well on that issue. And probably as we go on, we'll be sampling some of your views. Remember, Nodida still has a conversation coming up after the break. My name is Fred Indemuli. Good morning.